What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. And I know it has been a bit since I last uploaded a video, but it's a great time to be a sports fan right now, particularly an NBA fan, because All-Star break is behind us and in the books, and teams are making their final push for the NBA playoffs, whether it is teams that are already in that top six trying to improve their seeding, or whether it's teams that are in play-in position right now trying to creep in there. But one team that I want to talk about is the Miami Heat, who picked up a very big win Monday night in Sacramento, and they were shorthanded in that game. They did not have Jimmy Butler, Nikola Jovic, or Thomas Bryant, and all three of those guys were suspended for the role that they played in the scuffle that the Heat had with the New Orleans Pelicans on Friday, which if you haven't seen that, I would suggest looking it up on YouTube because it's pretty funny. I mean, you had guys throwing hands at half court. Jose Alvarado was one of the guys that got suspended along with Thomas Bryant and Jovic and Jimmy Butler, like I mentioned. And so the Miami, they're shorthanded going into Sacramento against a team in the Kings that was playing with a lot of momentum. They're at home. It was the second of a back-to-back, but they just picked up a very big win against the Clippers, a team that is considered to be one of the favorites in the Western Conference, and they beat the Clippers pretty good. And so they're going back home against a shorthanded Miami team, and they just, I guess, didn't know what was coming to them because Miami won the game without Jimmy Butler, like I mentioned, but they won by double digits, and the stars of the show for Miami were Bam Adebayo, who was an all-star this year, but Heat rookie Jaime Jaquez Jr. out of UCLA. And I believe if it weren't for guys like Wemby and Chet, who are head and shoulders above everybody else in the Rookie of the Year race, Jaime Jaquez Jr. would have a legitimate shot to win the award, because when you look at, just don't look at the numbers, just look at his game. He can score from anywhere on the court. He's a great low post player. He can operate in the mid-range. He can obviously shoot the three ball. And I believe he landed in the perfect spot in Miami. He was taken right in the middle of the draft, kind of similar to where Tyler Hero was taken, to be honest, out of Kentucky. And so they get Jaime Jaquez, and that's going to be a great spot for him to continue to further develop his game. He was a four-year college player, so he came into the NBA a little older than most rookies usually are nowadays, so he has a better understanding for NBA basketball, and so I think that also played a huge part in it. And so, yeah, Jaime Jaquez is going to be really good, but I don't want to talk about Miami just because they beat the Kings last night. That's part of it. I want to talk about Miami because when I look at the Eastern Conference standings, I believe at the time I'm recording this, they're in 7th place, and I think that's exactly where they want to be, because usually every year going into the regular season, people don't really expect much from the Miami Heat, because if you look at their roster on paper, it's really not that good. Jimmy Butler, Bam, you obviously respect those guys. They're all-stars. They've paid their dues. They've performed in the playoffs. But when you look at guys like Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Caleb Barton, Thomas Bryant, Nikola Jovic, all those guys, you look at their collective roster and say, talent-wise, they do not stack up with some of the elite teams, the top of the top in the Eastern Conference, like the Bucks, who have Giannis and Dame, the Celtics with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, even the Sixers when they're healthy, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. So every year, Miami is usually always right at the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings in terms of the playoffs. They're always in that 7th and 8th spot. And I think we're in prime position to see a really big run from the Heat again this year. They're 7th right now. They've been winning without Jimmy Butler pretty much all season. And if the Heat get into the play-in tournament, I really don't see how they're not going to get out of the play-in tournament. Because when you look at their competition, Atlanta, Trae Young is going to be out for at least a month. He just had surgery on his finger. Brooklyn is kind of in turmoil right now. They fired their head coach, Jacques Vaughn, a few weeks ago, so they don't really know where they are. They're kind of entering a rebuild. And then you look at other teams like the Raptors, who aren't even really in play-in position, but they're still a team that's really kind of scrappy. And then you have teams like the Bulls, they've been without Zach LaVine pretty much all year. Obviously, no Lonzo Ball. And so I think they're a team that could maybe challenge the Heat in the play-in. They did it last year. They almost beat them. Kobe White is a guy who's having a very good season. I think if the Bulls had a better record, he would be in consideration for the Most Improved Player award. But, I mean, you look at the Miami Heat. I think they're going to get out of the play-in tournament. They're probably going to be a 7th or 8th seed in the playoffs, and they're going to be playing either probably a Cleveland, a Boston, or Milwaukee in the first round. And I'm not saying that they're going to beat those two teams or beat any of those teams and go all the way to the finals like they did last year, but the Heat are going to be a very tough out, and whoever draws Miami in the playoffs cannot sleep on them, particularly Boston and Milwaukee, because they should know better than anybody, particularly Milwaukee, the way they got embarrassed by Miami in the first round last year. you cannot sleep on the Miami Heat. If they get everybody back healthy, if Jimmy Butler plays like playoff Jimmy, if Bam shows up consistently in the playoffs, if guys like Tyler Hero, Jaime Hawkins Jr., Duncan Robinson are hitting shots, look out for the Miami Heat because they are going to be a force in the Eastern Conference. Like I said, I'm not saying they're going to go all the way back to the finals, but I'm saying just like last year, they're going to be an extremely tough out, and I wouldn't be surprised if their first playoff series matchup against a team like the Bucks or the Celtics ends up going 6 or 7 games, because that's just how they are in the playoffs. They know how to turn it on in the postseason, particularly Jimmy Butler. He seems to be able to get everybody involved. Guys just play better come playoff time. So watch out for the Miami Heat. They're going to be a very tough playoff matchup. And the next thing that I want to touch on very quickly, the second of 3 topics that I want to touch on in this video, is the Clippers, a team that I touched on a little bit earlier, because they are rebranding. Next year, they are changing their logo to but they are changing their logo to represent their name a little bit more. You see they have a new ship in the logo compared to the new one where it's just the letters of the team name, LAC. But now they have a new logo with a ship, which kind of relates to the origin of the team name in the first place. They originated in San Diego, and the name is based off of Clipper ships. They're also getting brand new jerseys, which if you guys haven't seen them yet, go look it up. They do look pretty cool. I think they look pretty cool personally. And I wanted to talk about this very, very quickly because I think it is representative of what is supposed to be a new era of Clippers basketball. And the Clippers are serious when it comes to a new era of Clippers basketball because the team's really good this year. They're probably either the first or second best team in the West. They're going to have the first or second best odds, in my opinion, to go all the way to the finals. And outside of what they do in the playoffs, if they make the finals, if they don't win the championship, forget about that for a second. But I wanted to talk about this because I think it's them truly showing that they are trying to get out of the shadow of the Los Angeles Lakers. They're moving into a new arena next year. They're changing their logo. They're getting new jerseys. I think it's really beneficial for them because it sort of is kind of not throwing away, but it's sort of putting the past in the past. And teams can even maybe latch onto them more because they have a new look. They'll understand the history of the team name. And so I think it's a really good opportunity for them to gain more of a fan base, separate themselves from the Lakers, keep the Lakers at Staples Center, crypto, whatever you want to call it, and then establish your own fan base community at the Intuit Dome. So I wanted to touch on that very quickly because I like what the Clippers are doing in terms of their rebranding. Again, if you guys haven't seen it yet, go online and look at the pictures of all this stuff. It does look pretty cool. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is the face of the NBA conversation. And this was something that really picked up during the All-Star break because guys like LeBron, KD, and Steph, who are, each of them are at least 35 years old, I believe, and they're sort of not walking out the door, but they're sort of looking towards the end of their careers. All of them are a little bit older. We don't know how much longer all 3 of them are going to be in the league for. LeBron, more than anybody, is really getting questioned as to how many seasons he's going to have left because it's his 21st season. Guys like KD, he's been a little banged up over the years. I don't know if he's going to play 20 plus seasons in the league. Steph Curry is the guy who I think he could play as long as he wants to, just because his game doesn't rely solely on athleticism, and he'll be able to shoot the ball like how he normally does until the end of time. So who is going to be the next face of the NBA? It's something that a lot of them are being asked, and the guys that are in that conversation are really all the same guys I've been seeing are Victor Wembanyama, Wemby, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, Giannis, a bunch of other guys. And my opinion on this is I think we are going to enter an era of NBA basketball where we can have multiple faces of the league. And I'm not sure we're going to have a guy who is the face of the NBA, the guy that represents the NBA. Everybody's favorite player is going to be this guy like we had LeBron. I think Wemby has a chance. I think Wembanyama has a chance, but I think it's going to come down to him being able to stay healthy and win a lot of games. Once the Spurs get better, they're going to get more national TV games. I've never seen a player get as much press and coverage before the draft as Victor Wembanyama. So I'm thinking if anybody has a chance, it has to be him because he has the likability. If you listen to his interviews, he's very humble. He knows what he's talking about. He knows the game. He gives respect to all the greats in the league that came before him, guys that he admired. I think he has a very entertaining game. All the stuff he can do at 7 feet, 5 inches tall, however tall he is. Very athletic, very long. And he's sort of a mixture of a you know, a guy who's more skilled and then a guy who's like a freak of nature, because he can obviously handle the ball with the best of them. He can shoot from anywhere, but he can also drive the ball to the cup and make some insane plays. I think one of his dunks that he had against the Celtics on Derek White, where he extends his hand all the way from the free throw line and dunks it. I think it's the NBA's most viewed video ever across all their social media. They have it pinned on their Instagram, I believe. You can go look at it. And so I think the NBA definitely wants that next face of the league to be Wemby. And so I think in order for that to happen, he's going to have to, one, stay healthy, play in as many games as possible. But I think the thing is with guys like LeBron James, I think without a doubt, LeBron was the face of the NBA throughout his entire prime. Right now, I think it's a lot of guys, but during his prime, it was without a doubt LeBron James, because you could go up to any sports fan, maybe not even a sports fan, just any person, and they know who LeBron James is. Like, if you just mention the name LeBron James, like if you go up to anybody and say, name a random basketball player, LeBron James was the first guy that people are going to mention, just because he was able to build his brand to become so big. And I think that's going to be the key for all these guys who are in the running to be the face of the league. You have guys like Jokic and Giannis. Those are the two best players in my opinion. But every time they get asked about being the face of the league, they basically say they want absolutely nothing to do with that, and they're just here to play basketball. So those two guys, I don't really think they can be the face of the league solely because they don't want it. It has nothing to do with their personalities or games. I think that's just the case. And you have guys like Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Luka. Those are young guys that I think everybody really likes, but they're going to have to continue to, like I said, build their brand so they can become that household name that everybody knows. Because I don't know if you can go up to a random person who has never watched a basketball game in his or her life and say, name a random basketball player, and they're going to say Jason Tatum, Wemby, Anthony Edwards, Luka. And so I just don't think anybody has built up their brand like LeBron has to be considered the, without a doubt, next question face of the league. Even guys like John Morant, I would put him in there, but he's obviously had some stuff in his past where people don't, the NBA can't really market him because they may be worried about how his actions would like make them look. So it's about building your brand on and off the court to become a true household name. And I think whoever does that, again, I think Wemby has the best chance because he's being marketed more than anybody else in the NBA right now. And even though he plays for the Spurs, they're going to get a ton of national TV games. And if that team gets good, they're probably going to get more national TV games than anybody else in the league when LeBron and the Lakers and teams like the Warriors, guys like Steph Curry are sort of on their way out. And so I think Wemby is the guy that's going to be marketed the best, and he's going to be pushed the hardest by the NBA. But as of today, right now, I don't think there is a clear-cut face of the league in the NBA. I think there's a lot of guys who are very, very good who should be in consideration. Like I said, Tatum, SGA, Luka, Anthony Edwards, Wemby, all those guys, all these young guys are really, really good. There's no clear face of the league right now, in my opinion. So thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, share, and find the rest of my content linked in the description, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.